Hello everyone, today we're diving into a story that has sent shockwaves across both the United States and the United Kingdom. U.S. President Donald Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein are once again under the spotlight, and some seasoned political analysts believe these connections could mark the very end of his political career, perhaps even his presidency itself if he were ever to return to office. The issue is not only serious but potentially explosive, with implications that stretch far beyond Trump himself. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist David K. Johnston has stated very clearly, if evidence, particularly tapes or images as alleged by some victims, comes to light linking Trump to Epstein in a compromising way, it could spark impeachment proceedings that even Trump's infamous resilience and ego would not be able to withstand. While Johnston doubts Trump would ever resign voluntarily, he insists that such revelations could politically destroy him. This is unfolding against the backdrop of Trump's second state visit to the UK, a highly unusual honor never before granted to a U.S. president. As Trump dined with King Charles and Queen Camilla, images of him and the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein were dramatically projected onto Windsor Castle. It was a symbolic reminder that no matter how much pageantry surrounds him, questions about his past continue to follow. The controversy comes just days after a former U.S. ambassador was dismissed for his own connections to Epstein, adding even more irony and tension to this visit. At the same time, pressure is mounting in Washington. The House Oversight Committee has begun releasing documents tied to Epstein, including pages from his infamous contact book. While some of these disclosures may seem incremental, they are keeping the story alive, drip by drip, fueling headlines and investigations. Johnston argues that what Congress should really be doing is putting Epstein's victims on record under oath, rather than parading irrelevant witnesses. But political maneuvering, especially by Trump allies, appears to be slowing that process down. Meanwhile, the British press has been far more aggressive in questioning Trump than many American reporters, and they are expected to confront him during this visit not only about Epstein, but also about major global issues: the war in Ukraine, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and Trump's controversial claims of executive powers that the U.S. Constitution does not grant him. Johnston points out that Trump continues to act as if he is above the law, claiming rights like imposing tariffs without congressional approval, pardoning convicted criminals, and even asserting extreme authority over military actions. On top of all this, Trump is now suing the New York Times for $15 billion, accusing it of bias. But legal experts, and even Johnston, who has taught law, call the lawsuit laughable and clearly intended as intimidation rather than a serious case. Trump has a long history of weaponizing lawsuits, both as threats and as tools of delay. Over his lifetime, he has been linked to more than 5,000 legal battles, using them not just to defend himself, but also to pressure opponents. Yet statistically, he has lost the vast majority of those cases in lower courts. Still, his political survival often relies less on courtroom victories and more on controlling the narrative. That is why his relationship with foreign leaders, such as Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, is so crucial right now. For the UK, maintaining open dialogue with Trump is seen as essential, especially when it comes to confronting threats from Russia. Analysts warn that Vladimir Putin is actively trying to manipulate Trump, and that British diplomacy must walk a very fine line, persuading Trump to resist Putin's influence while avoiding turning Trump into an outright enemy. And then there's Trump the man. Johnston, who has followed him closely for nearly 4 decades, describes him as a hollow figure who craves approval, whether from dictators like Kim Jong-un or royalty like King Charles. This explains why Trump revels in the pomp of state visits, but lashes out so aggressively at the press. His lawsuits, his rhetoric, and his intimidation tactics all reflect a man desperate for validation and control, yet increasingly isolated and defensive. So, as the Epstein files continue to emerge, as the press prepares to challenge Trump during this high-profile UK visit, and as legal and political battles pile up around him, one question remains: can Donald Trump survive all of this politically? David K. Johnston believes this could ultimately be the scandal that ends his presidency once and for all. So, what's your take? Drop a comment below.